Welcome to Design is Marketing, a podcast for product teams and marketers who want to learn what works and what doesn't when it comes to engaging and converting users. This podcast is brought to you by Sparker, the design agency. If you want to know more about it, check sparker.co. Welcome back to another episode of Design is Marketing, the podcast that inspires marketing and product teams on how to use design to achieve growth. I'm your host, Federico, and today we're tackling the big question, one that we've all had at least once. How do you find the right platform to build your website? Now, this question is essential because when we're starting or relaunching our website, we want to make sure that we find the best platform to support the growth on the long term. But how do we find it, and how do we make sure that we don't switch every 6 months? With so many options out there from Webflow and WordPress or Framer, Squarespace is Teachable, Thinkific, Kajabi, Udemy, you name it, it can be overwhelming, right? To figure out what is the best fit for our needs. Now, before we start, when this episode is over, I don't want you to be left thinking how this all apply to my specific case. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to my website, sparker.co. It's sparker.co and then contact, where you can book a free orientation call. And now back to the episode. So let's start with understanding what you really need. Before diving into the specific of each platform, it's essential to identify your goals, your business goals. Are you planning to sell courses, to create a community, or to offer free resources, for example, like a blog or a podcast like this? Now, knowing your primary objectives will help you narrow down what you really need and what your choices will be. So, think about your target audience first. Who are your learners and what are their demographics and preferences? For instance, if your audience prefers visually rich content, then you might want a platform that excels in multimedia support. The other thing that I believe is super important to understand is how your website will be used in the context of your digital marketing strategy. So, to be very concrete, use something that you can easily integrate with the marketing channels that you're using, be it paid ads, email marketing, or something else. Lastly, don't forget about content types and delivery methods. So, are you offering video lessons or audio tutorials or written guidelines? Will you be giving live stream sessions or provide pre-recorded material? So all these factors will heavily influence the platform that you can use. So to give an example, if you're providing a course, you might want to use something different than if you're providing a webinar or a podcast. Now, once we've covered these basic needs, it's also important to think of the key features that you want to consider. So the first thing, at least to me, would be ease of use. Especially if it's your first time, make sure that you can use a platform that feels easy to use if you don't want to outsource the design and development to someone else. So platforms like Squarespace or Framer are usually known to be very user-friendly. However, they are good for beginners, but they also come with some limitations, especially along the way. Another thing that I strongly suggest is to think for the long term, how much customization and flexibility do you think you will need? And well, here it actually tends to be more than what you think at the beginning. So you don't want to start something and spend a lot of hours into platform only to discover after that you need it, to be able to add something like a pop-up or an integration that you're actually not able to add, because then it means that you have to start all over again. So here platforms like WordPress or Webflow are usually known to be very customizable and very open to a number of different options that you can tailor to your specific needs. Personally, having used WordPress a lot, I find that it's great that it has so many plugins, because then you don't need to figure out the solution yourself. For example, I'm thinking here of things like pop-ups or integration with email marketing, but pop-ups can also be a double-edged sword. So the risk is that you overload your website with plugins and then it will slow down your website. For me, after having used WordPress for many years, I turned to Webflow, and I think it's really a great alternative. However, it doesn't need to be great for you as well. It doesn't mean that it's also the best option for you. Scalability is another important factor. And as your business grows, your platform should be able to handle more courses and users without a hitch. So, platforms like Thinkific and Kajabi are usually excellent choices for scalability, and they offer a robust solution that grows together with your business. As I said before, integration, for me, it's a make or break. You'll need a platform that integrates smoothly with other tools that you use. So I mentioned before marketing tools, but you should also think of CRMs, for example, and payment gateways. Here again, think that no platform really beats Webflow or WordPress. However, a lot of platforms do have interesting solutions integrated within the platform for things like payment. And I think that's very valuable. But it might be limiting if you want to add things like CRM or security features. In general, what I always recommend to teams that I work with is use something that you can work with even after the project is complete. Personally, my goal is not to create dependency, but rather to enable clients to get the most out of their website, which is why sometimes I think that a simple solution is just good, especially if you're in the early stages and you feel that you're going to have to experiment a lot, changing text or moving things around. Now, let's take a closer look at some popular platforms. Starting with Teachable. It's designed specifically for course creators. It offers features like drip content, quizzes, and certificates. So it's definitely broad. It's user friendly, but it lacks some customization options. Thinkific is another great solution. It provides a similar set of features, but offers more customization and flexibility, which makes it a favorite among growing businesses. Then, another very popular platform when it comes to content creation and learning is Kajabi. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. Kajabi, it's a bit more expensive, but offer an all-in-one solution, which includes also marketing automation, email marketing campaign, and it's really great for smaller to larger business sizes. So in general, if you use a platform like Kajabi, you know that you'll be paying a little bit more upfront, but you will not have to switch once your company grows. The other one is at the totally opposite side of the spectrum is a platform like Udemy. It's well-known marketplace for courses, and it's good to reach out a larger audience quickly, but you have less control on branding and pricing. So the disadvantage is that being a marketplace, you are kind of exposed to, traffic comes in, but traffic comes out. So you're never really in control of the traffic that you drive to the platform, which is why I usually don't recommend it unless you want to use it as a way to promote a very specific offer that you have, which can then be your foot in the door to get some users that say get familiar or exposed with your offer, and then you use it as a way to ultimately drive them to your main platform, your main offer. So this could be your digital strategy. In general, I believe that the best solution if you want to have something customizable and flexible are platforms like WordPress and Webflow. WordPress could be paired with plugins like LearnDash or Lifter LMS. Then it offers flexibility and control, but obviously it requires a bit more technical know-how. Budget is always a consideration. So free platforms like WordPress or the basic version of Squarespaces are tempting. However, they do come with limitations. So in general, if you're launching a course, investing on a platform needs to be part of your marketing budget. At the other side of the spectrum, you have paid platforms that offer more features, but also that comes at a cost. So, in general, what I would say is, again, go for something that doesn't cost a fortune at the beginning, allows you to test and experiment, and then, if you need, the platform can grow with you. But at the same time, I would also suggest to stay away of solutions that look free, that don't cost a lot of money, but then will require you to do everything again if you decide to be serious about your courses. So most platforms operate on a subscription model, and that's typically monthly or year. Before you commit to something, make sure you can consider additional cost and make sure what's really included in the plan that you're using. To give you a clearer picture, let's look at some stories, right, that happened and that I've seen during my career. So many successful course creators, for example, start with Teachable because it's simple, and then they move to platforms like Thinkific or Kajabi as they grow. That happened to one of my recent clients, for example, who began with Teachable and then transitioned to Kajabi because they wanted to leverage the marketing automation tools that Kajabi offers. Once they did, they reported a significant increase in student engagement and also sales after switching. Another thing to consider is that if you're using the help of a professional to build your website, it may be actually faster for them to use a tool that appears as more complex for the rest of known tech people, of people who don't build their website, of don't build website every day. So that's especially when your website grows and it's more than a single page. And here's why. For example, I usually use Webflow. And when I want to switch things across the whole website, I can use things like classes that allow me to easily change colors, sizes, margin, so that one change applies to the whole website and it keeps consistency. With other platforms, I cannot do it. So I recently happened to work on a project where my client really wanted me to use the platform that they were using, which is Strikingly, a platform that frankly I had never heard of before. So I started the work on Strikingly. It's a platform that is not that user friendly, but what's more important is not modular. So if I change something in one place, then I need to change it all over again in all the other sections of the website. So that means that for me, there needed to be more manual work going into the project than it would have been with a platform which is allegedly more complicated to use, like Webflow. So actually, sometimes with this project, I even thought of like, okay, I will just tell the clients, I will do all over the platform again in Webflow at no cost for them because this is driving me mad. Well, eventually I didn't do it, but I think you get an idea of why sometimes, say, more complex solution can actually be easier if they're modular. Now, let's think of the final decision. Making the final decision can be tough. I recommend you using comparison tools available online and reading in depth the reviews from current users. That's usually one of the best things that you can do. Especially look at reviews that come from users that are in your niche. Another great thing that a lot of companies are offering is free trials. So don't hesitate to use free trials if you want to test platforms, but do keep in mind that also free trials comes at a cost because of the time that you invest into creating pages and make things pretty. Usually, the help of someone who has already been doing that before can be a great solution. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, if you want to hit me for a free recommendation on what platform to use, I'm available at the website of my company, sparker.co. Remember that launching your website is often a process of trials and errors. What works for one creator might not work for another. So take your time, choose your platform in a way that aligns with what's best for your business goals. To recap, we've discussed today understanding your needs, key features to look for, and an overview of the most popular platforms. Then we also looked at budget consideration and some real world examples. I hope this gives you a solid starting point in the journey to launch or relaunch your website with the best platform. In any case, starting with one platform and then switching is also not a big deal if you haven't uploaded, for example, a lot of content. It also happened to me. I think I've switched around 3 to 4 platforms since I started a few years ago. Consider that, according to a survey that I ran this year, most companies redo their website once every 2 years on average. So, in 2 years, you might decide to choose to try something new and see if it works for you. So, the two most important recommendations that I gave to you are mainly the following. Number one, go for something that works well with you, with your overall marketing strategy, so that integrates well with email marketing, paid ads, etc. And the second one is use something that you can work with. So if you need to change the words of your header or something else, you don't need to hire an agency every time. Thank you for tuning in to Design is Marketing. I hope you find the episode valuable. And if you like the show, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel or leave your email address to receive every week new episodes. See you the next time.